Hi, I'm David and welcome to Scalar 3.3. This update introduces a whole swathe of new improvements, so many that I'm not going to be able to cover them all in this video. So I recommend you check out the changelog and look through all the improvements. You might find something that you requested in there. The second thing to note is that we've moved to a self-managed user activation system. So it's a much better, more robust system for our users, and you will require reauthorization. You can find your license code in My Products at scalarmusic.com. So with all that aside, let's dip into as many things as I can. I'm going to go to the main big new feature. And I say it's a main big new feature because it just really changes the way you can write music, perform music, and compose music. Let's check it out. So here's a little arrangement I've got in Scalar. So as you know, traditionally in Scalar 3, you can just bind the main track and you can play those chords with one finger. Great, but now we have the ability to multi-bind, and that means that we can bind our entire arrangement or as many tracks as we want. So here we go. I've got a motion track, I've got a bass follow track, and I've got some beats that I've programmed within Scalar. What's amazing about this is that it will loop whatever section, whatever part the motion is in at the time. Let me demonstrate. So, not only can you fling around between chord parts, but you can actually fling around and loop. And it's just a really cool way of not only playing live. What I really love about this is I can come into the settings menu and I can turn my play quantize on. So if I'm playing live, it'll just stick on the beat and stick to the next chord duration. So here we go. So you can see I'm moving before the beat. And then I can let go and get ready to start on the next one. So it's a really cool way to perform live, but also come up with these ideas and the grooves. Let's say I don't want to hear the main track and I want to hear just what the motions is doing. So you can see it just looping around that section and missing the first beat, which is really cool. Yep. Or I could say, you know what? I don't want the motions. I just want the chords and the bass follow. Yep. Or just the bass. No chords. I'm going to mute that main chord track. And now I'm just going to hear just the bass and the beats. And I can make whatever arrangement I want. Multi-bind really just does completely change the way you can write music. You can create lots of different motions across many different tracks, and you can play them all, loop them all. It's really cool for many more reasons, and I'm about to show you why. So here I've loaded Concerning Epics, which is one of the many new presets and makes up part of a huge content drop in Scalar 3.3. We'll talk more about that later, but I've multi-bound every single lane and I've added some nice contact instruments, and now I've got this kind of chord progression. It enables me to really kind of, okay, do I want to stick with or do I want to play with the chord progression and what sounds right, Yeah, it's really cool. And then I can decide what I want to hear when I'm auditioning. So I will mute the main track. You have to always have the main track bound because everything responds to that. But you can mute it so you don't hear those chords. Let's go the string, the choir. I'll leave the chord follow alone. I'll have just the cello or the bass follow. Yeah, it's just really nice to be able to hear different sections, bind, multi-bind, certain parameters, and whether it's live performing or composition or trying to work out different arrangements, it just is really, really flexible. Let's talk you through some new features which I know many of our users will love. So when you load up Scalar 3.3, you will notice it looks a little bit different. And I'm going to take you through everything because there's lots and lots of improvements and likely ones that you will discover if you've been an existing Scalar 3 user as you download and get to use Scalar 3.3. The first thing is the detect mode has been completely overhauled to just be much simpler and easier to use with some added benefits. Firstly, we've taken the record and that multi drop-down menu here. This is just purely a MIDI capture button. But here we have a devoted detect mode. You open it up, you can still browse your chords as per normal, or you can just come straight to detect mode. You hit record, you play some chords, and it will record the chords that you played and detect as per the usual detection method that's been around for a while with Scalar 1, 2, and 3. You can now bin those detected chords, and of course you can just play single notes if you want, if you're trying to figure out a scale. And you just stop the record button and you start getting this detection history. And what's fantastic about that is it's live, so you can be switching between your standard chord progressions or your genres, and you can always come back to detect mode and go, oh, what was that detection there? Oh yeah, this is my single note, so I'll rename it single note detection. What was my scale? You can, of course, just drag and drop as you normally do, or you can just load MIDI files straight by clicking the folder icon. Here I've got a MIDI file, and I just open it up. Scalar will detect it, and we'll just plonk it right there, which is really, really cool. Of course, you can do the same with audio too. You can switch across to audio. You can record live. Check out the Scalar Detector video if you want to know more about the detection, how it works. It's very, very powerful. And you can, of course, just click in here. Here I've got an audio detection file. I'll just load it in. Scalar was do a thing, detect, and there are my chords. Yeah, it's really cool. You can save as a user chord set. You can delete one chord. You can reveal the location. Of course, you can just delete all if you want to. So very flexible detection system. MIDI capture still does the same thing as before, except this is now a devoted MIDI capture button. You press it, it starts capturing MIDI. I've got my performances on here. I stop my MIDI capture and I can drag that MIDI file or even just save that MIDI file wherever I want. So MIDI capture, chord detection, both work at the same time, which is really, really cool, is all new in Scalar 3.3. You will now notice that, let's say I drag these chords straight down here, or I can right click and just add to the main track. You will notice the main track now features a visible timeline. That's important for many reasons. Firstly, you can click around and you can adjust your loop lengths all live within this timeline. You can see the playhead right there. Doesn't interfere with the chord, so you've still got that full bind capability. But now this remains consistent wherever you are. So let's say I'm on that first chord and I come across to the arrange page, or I come into the create page, the selected chord remains consistent. So if I say copy these across, so for example, here I am on the A sus4, I've got my playhead position right there. I come into the circle of fifths page and I don't want that A sus4, I'll take an A sus2. I know exactly where I am. I just get back on and I just start getting back into the composition. Now, this is really cool too, because I can say, let's say I come into colors mode and I want to replace this A major. Just move the playhead position here. I listen for variations. Let's turn the performance off. Yeah, and I like this brighter chord, so I can just click it and I can now just insert at the playhead position or replace. If I replace, it just replaces that chord. There it is. Really easy to work with. You can actually just also insert. So if I was to get both of these chords and insert at playhead position, just moves all the other chords across and inserts them right there. It's fantastic because everything is consistent. You know where you are, you can see the timeline, and it just makes working with Scalar 3 much, much easier. And here's something else. So here is the Scalar 3 default size. Traditionally, you're only able to kind of horizontally or diagonally resize. But now you can not only diagonally resize, but you can horizontally resize, and even better, you can vertical resize, which zooms right in. This makes it very flexible and adaptable for many reasons. If you've got, let's say, a large arrangement, let me just shift click both of these, duplicate scenes. The other thing to note whilst I'm here, by the way, is the shift now just does what you expect it to do. It chooses all the chords in between, so it makes it really, really easy. This is really cool too, sorry to digress, but if you're, say, at position 24 and you want to replace those two chords, you know where your playhead position is. You can just select, shift click, and you can say, no problem, can you replace at the playhead position? And you'll see back at measure 24, there's the chord. So it makes it really easy to move chords. Now, we've always had this kind of zoom ability, if you like, here, which means you can see a lot more. Let's say I want to duplicate the scene a couple more times to make this just a little bit more apparent. Now with vertical and horizontal resizing, there's a few options. Firstly, you can zoom in by doing this vertically. You can see that you can zoom in and see the full chord names and see a lot more of the actual arrangement. This is really cool if you're adding motions, for example. It's getting pretty small here, but if you're adding motions and you want to see lots more, you can just see a lot. Here's where it's really cool. I've got a 49 ultra wide monitor, and now I can just drag all the way across my massive monitor, and I can see all of Scalar, and I can decide what kind of vertical and horizontal position I want. Vertical and horizontal resizing is so smooth and so quick that it means that you can kind of find your default position, and you can come into your settings menu and you can say, great, could you save as the current size as default and work from there. Note there's plenty of other options in the settings menu, such as check for updates, which it will do regularly now. And that's a really good place to start exploring all the new features within Scalar 3.3. Okay, let's put that all together and let's show you some other new features which I'm sure our users will love. So I'm going to come into, by the way, we've got loads of new content. There's Dream Pop, Bluegrass, some really, really lovely chord sets. If we come into Dream Pop, for example, and we kind of bind this section. Really lovely new chord sets. Yeah, I encourage you to just check out the changelog and jump through. There's a bunch of new presets, a bunch of new motions. But let's go to 80s. Let's go chord set number 3. I'm just going to start making a little chord progression to show you a couple of new features. So let's get the D major, let's get the A major over C sharp, let's get the F sharp minor 7th. Let's finish off with the E sus4 chord. Okay, I'm going to come into the arrange page and I'm going to create, as you normally do, an arpeggio track. Let's go up. Now, as you know, we've always been able to kind of slice up those tracks and change the parameters of each one. So let's say I want to go, let's do the timing, quarter note timing for both these sections over here, quarter note timing, and let's make this one go down instead of up. So we've always been able to do that. That's cool. I'm actually just going to quickly load an instrument to try and demonstrate this next thing, which is really cool. Let's pull up Ascend. Okay, so we've always been able to select different motions, but now what's really cool is I can actually preview the motions with the sound. And now if I just arm the channel, I can hear that track. But most exciting of all, before I'd need to create a different track to load a different motion, but all these restrictions are now gone. So here I am in the arpeggio track, listening to the current sound, and I can say, you can see I'm not restricted at all. I can go anywhere I want. Passages, let's have a listen to the current sound with passage 1. Sounds great. And let's come in here and let's go passage 2. Fantastic. And as you know, we can bind both these tracks now, and I can just start jamming them. So what's really cool about that is, let's say I want to add another track. Create user track is now over here on its own. I'm going to pull up Native Instruments vocal colors. And what's really great about this is the multi-bind works simultaneously with the user track, listening to the actual user track's instrument. So for example, I can still multi-bind. But now if I turn on scale notes mapped, it'll map all the notes. What am I in? F sharp minor. So it'll map, if I just hang around the F, I know it's just going to map them all to the correct key. And now because I've got my user track selected, I can bound chords and I can play the user track to create a melody. Swap the chord. And of course you can record all of that too. The other thing I love to do is just add different motions per the one chord, just to kind of audition things live on the fly. So if I was to come into expressions, I'm not limited, I can do anything and go adagio, accento. Here I've got a whole different bunch of motions, and I can kind of stick on the one chord. So yeah, it's really cool. And what's interesting about this is you can always see where you are. Now you can see at the clip editor the parent category that belongs to. This is an arpeggio, this is avant-garde phrase, here's accento from a performance. And if you just open the motion browser, you go straight back to wherever that clip was from. So it's just really quick to get around. And of course, now we've given you the ability just to rename the track by double clicking, because it's no longer an arpeggio track. It's not tied to that one motion, and I can just call this the motions track or whatever I want to do. And you can, of course, you can rename that straight in the mixer too. This just all makes it really, really quick to come up with ideas and sketch out arrangements. As you can now hear, every channel. Here I've got a viola, a vocal, a piano, and you're no longer restricted to moving any type of motion to any track. You can just quickly audition lots of different motions just by clicking around. And you can also move things too. So what does that sound like, that performance on the viola or on the piano? So you can just literally move things around anywhere and just immediately hear all the different motions. Again, just giving you lots of flexibility in rearranging motions, auditioning motions on the fly, and just changing any motion to any type anywhere. All of the UX improvements, and there's lots more, all of the content, the horizontal, the vertical resizing, the multi-binds, the whole new motions workflow makes working with Scalar 3.3 just so much more fun, so quick, so intuitive, and so much more powerful. I think the multi-bind feature has not ever been seen in any form of music software, and we're so excited to get it into our live performers and composition and producers toolkit and see what you guys come up with. Check out the changelog. Don't forget to reauthorize your copy of Scalar 3.3. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy Scalar 3.3.